Then, welcome to the session about a roadmap to courageous change with Anne Rød. Really nice to see you all here. Before we start and introduce the session even more, I want to make sure that you sit on a seat where there is a string at the back. That is really important. If you're not sitting on a seat with a string, there are a few seats available in the front, and you're welcome to the front. And now we soon have all arranged. There is another seat here. Then we will figure that creatively out, or what do you think? We will solve that. We have two seats here, and I think we have the third seat here. One more here in the front. And in the middle. This is really good because you get to sit with someone you don't know. We have a seat more in the middle here. Well, then I think we're ready. So, welcome again to the focus session about a roadmap to courageous change with Anne Rød. And before I introduce Anne a bit more, I would just like to say my name is Jenny Berg. I'm here from Sweden and working with coaching and leadership development. So, nice to have you here, Anne. You're very welcome to Malmö and ICF Global 2014. Anne is international recognized executive team coach, intercultural management consultant, and have lots of really nice things on the list here, and maybe I won't read them all. But senior faculty member with CRR Global, spearheading the new concept of system-inspired leadership. Anne develops and delivers executive coaching, team development, leadership programs spanning 4 continents and a wide range of industries. She has published books and papers on organizational and strategic communication, as well as on intercultural competence. And she has a new book coming out later this year on systems-inspired leadership. You should look out for that one. Anne holds a BA in communication, master in marketing, and 3 certificates in coaching. She lives in Oslo, not far from here, in Norway. A warm applause for Anne. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, good stress, yes. Are you having a good time? Are you ready to have some more? Yes. How many of you actually work with teams today? Oh, quite a few of you. How many of you would like to work more with teams? Yeah, you're in the right course. You already had the question about strings, and I'm just going to say, make it work. If you have a spare string next to you, make sure someone else gets it. And also, my good colleague Lisbeth will make it happen. So over the next hour and a half, we're going to have some real cheerful chaos where you're going to be participating a lot. So that's why I believe in this slogan, make it work, is really apt. So I want to start with a story. I was working with a management team of 12. And I did what we call a linear constellation. A linear constellation, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is actually a line on the floor, and I put down the numbers from 1 to 5. 1 being low, yes, and 5 being high. And I asked the team members to vote with their feet and say, you know, on a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 you're really comfortable, how comfortable are you with change? And they sort of shuffled their feet a bit, and they more or less ended up sort of around 2.5, 3 on the scale. And I said, now what if you replace the word change with development, or utveckling, as you say in Sweden? Oh God, no, they were all up at a 5. Development was really important. We needed that all the time, yes. However, they said, the people who work for us in the organization, they don't like either. They don't like change, and they don't like development. So over the next hour and a half, we're going to embark on a journey together, and it's also going to be a personal journey for you, true to the storytelling theme of this conference. And I'm going to introduce to you the roadmap to courageous change. And it is an approach that has made a difference for hundreds of leaders and teams across 4 continents over the past 7 years that I've had the pleasure of working with. So I'm going to talk a bit, you're going to be talking a bit, we're going to talk a bit, Lisbeth's going to talk a bit, and I hope that by the end of this hour and a half that you can walk away with some of these learning outcomes. And when you look at the words there, relationship systems intelligence and systems inspired change, just trust me, you'll know what it is by the end of the day. Okay? Right, so the first question is really like, why is change so hard, so difficult? Why are changes so difficult or so hard to achieve? Research shows that actually 70 to 80% of change initiatives fail, or they end up in a completely different direction, or they just get buried in some sort of drawer. So that's probably one of the reasons people are like, ugh, change. The other thing that really struck me when I started reading about this, because I don't know what it's like in your countries, but in Norway, people still seem to use this like, you know, unfreeze or thaw, transform, and then freeze again. It's from 1947. The theory is from 1947, and we're still using it as our main theory. So no wonder that, you know, people in organizations says, they hear change and they go, bend over, here it comes again. And if you keep your head down, you will survive. One of the other things that leads to, or makes change difficult, is actually the leaders themselves. Like all other people, leaders are afraid of not being liked, not being popular enough. Being a friend is more important than being a leader to many. And they're also afraid of not delivering, of course, because then they might lose your job. So their approach is to make sure that, you know, they have control over it. They're not open to influence from the people they're leading. And most of the time, they've actually made up their mind what it's going to look like. So they have these, you know, they have these processes and all that, but the decision is very often already made because the leader is afraid of losing control. And in my experience also, middle management can be the biggest bottleneck of all. So the fear of rejection, fear of losing control, and of course we also have the individual agendas. It really is, I've experienced leaders time and time again who really believe that they have the answers. They've employed people, but they still think they're best. And also by holding their cards close to their chest, they can ensure that it turns out the way they want to. I remember one guy at a leadership conference, he said, I'm really amazed, you know, that others have better answers than me. I never thought about that, yeah. You know, adult man and everything. And then, of course, there is the one-to-one lead. No, I want to come back to one thing, the fear of losing control and also the fear of their own future. And one lady in the top management team I was speaking to, she says, we're not going to change in this leadership team. We're not going to be behind the change until we know what positions we're going to have afterwards. So I will not commit to this unless I know that I have a high-flying job afterwards as well. One of my sort of pet peeves is this one-to-one leadership. I have met so many leaders who have up to 20 people reporting to them directly. And they go around and they lead a little bit with you, and then we lead you a little bit, and then I'm over here leading you, and you have some really useful information that they should know, so I'm going to run over here, and I'm going to lead and let you know, and then I'm going to let you know, and then there's a conflict between you and you, but God, you have to lead, and then it's like burnout, right? They can't run around leading 20 people per day, but they really think that this one-to-one maintains control and is able to handle. Of course, there's the last thing is you all know that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Well, it eats change for lunch, really. So the ghost and what's being tolerated and not in an organization has a lot to do with why changes are so difficult. So that's just a little bit of a backdrop, and I'm seeing some nods in the audience, and I'm assuming that you recognize what I'm talking about. So what actually happens in a change process? And I want to acknowledge Arnie Mendel, who's a process psychologist, for developing this theory that we call the edge theory. And basically, change is going from what is known to what's unknown. It's as simple as that. We know we're sitting here now. Later on today, we'll be doing something different. You know, you might have checked in where you're going and all that, but it's kind of unknown. And when we ourselves can initiate the going from known to unknown, we feel more empowered. But if someone's kicking us over that edge, we feel disempowered. So it could be as simple as like, yes, I know I'm not young anymore, but yes, I used to be young and that was fun and I didn't have children and married. That was known to me. And then I moved to unknown, okay, married, children, change in identity from what you're familiar with to something else. It could be the same in changing roles, changing work, organizations, the lot. So what we say really is like, we go from here to here, but there are signals coming through that change is imminent. Sometimes the signals are like bang, bang, bang in your face and you still don't want to see them. Other times people are telling you you have to change because of market conditions, etc. And we'll look closer to that in a minute. But really it's the rapidness, the amount of signals that's coming through that's indicating that change is imminent. And that's why in organizations and a leader's ability to read those signals is so important. Some leaders, of course, are so good at reading signals that they're over the edge before the rest of the organization. I call them visionary leaders. I work with quite a few of them, and I mean, by God, we need them. But sometimes the distance between where they are and the rest of the organization is so big, and they are not able to communicate the pressure or the necessity. I used to work for Ericsson in Norway, and it was actually, I just started the job as a communication consultant when they wanted to close down the factories and everything in Norway. And it was very dramatic at the time, great learning. Now, you know, how many years later, 15 years later, it's just a sales office in Norway for Ericsson. And the whole organization has been slimmed down worldwide. These people, they really saw, they read the market and the changes that was needed, but they will not be able to engage the organization in the right way. So yes, hey for visionary leaders, but they need help in bridging that gap, and they need especially help from their management team. Okay. So I talked about signals. We have many kinds of signals, and for those of you who listened to Caitlin's talk yesterday, lots of signals there, body signals going on. And yes, we can have body signals, like if you walk around with a churning in your stomach every time you go to work, it's a signal that a change is needed, right? But you can also move it up to market conditions, what's going on, drop in sales, technology failures, or you can put it even to the wider system. What are the global signals? Changes in regulations, economic recession. And the ability to pick up those signals as soon as they start coming, Not wait until you're sort of almost going out of business, like half the media industry is at the moment, but actually being able there and be able to work with it. And that's why change is not a thaw, transform and freeze, it is continuous. It's a continuous journey of reading those signals. It's a continuous journey of crossing one mountain after another. And working with teams, they go, but when we've done that, it's another one afterwards, isn't it? And I go, yeah, it's like a Norwegian mountain range. It goes on and on and on and on. So the best thing we can do for you is to teach you systems-inspired leadership so you can navigate those changes. Systems-inspired leadership is the approach to courageous change inspired by human relationships, human systems. So what is a relationship system? We choose to define it as a group of interdependent people with a common purpose or identity, such as working in an organization, or on the same team, or being at the same conference, being coaches. Systems-inspired leadership, I'm going to take you through some of the pinpoints of that, and then for the journey ahead. So I just said that change is inevitable, it is constant, and it's natural. Just look at nature. Just go out into nature and look how it's always transforming and it's always giving new life. The biggest thing about systems-inspired leadership is we actually shift our focus from individuals. So rather than running around with this, leading all my 20 people, I start focusing on the individual as one team. It doesn't mean that you're going to forget about leading one-to-one or caring about people, but you're going to shift it to a systems focus. So you actually think of it as a unity. And every one of the team members you have are information carriers. And that means that they are actually transmitting important information about the system and the system's status quo. So when I use system from now on, I'm talking about the team or the organization, okay? And every member is an information carrier, even those we don't like. Because often we think like, Peter, Paul, and Harry and Margaret are really nice, but Jeff is just so difficult. So if we just don't listen to him, we're going to be fine. Maybe he'll leave the organization and good. What we don't realize is that because the system needs a critical voice, someone else will take that role in Jeff's place. So when each member is an information carrier, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to agree and, oh yes, we're going to get to vote and all that, which we like in our Nordic consensus cultures. No, it means that we're going to listen, and then we're going to listen for what's there for the team. What's the new wisdom for the team? So it transforms from individual agendas, that, to us and the we. And from that, and I'm sure you all had the experience of working with others, and you just feel like, wow, we're together, we're doing something greater and bigger than we could have done on our own. So you really get the 1-to-1 equals 3. Trusting the systems, so from that it actually comes creativity. And for a leader, it's also creating that environment for the team to succeed. And one leader I had and worked with, and he was too visionary, so he almost lost his job. And then I came in there to help him. And one of the things we started to work with was how to enable his team. And I remember after the first team session, he came out and goes, God, I didn't know they had it in them. I really didn't know that, they never spoken before, and I'm amazed. Because he had just been figuring everything out, making sure it was his way or the highway. The last piece about systems on entities, it's something we call the team entity. And for some it could feel a bit like fluffy. But remember firemen, you've seen these Donald Duck's cartoons and all that, and the firemen are standing there waiting for someone to jump from the building. Can you nod if you, yeah, okay. And you see all the firemen, they're holding on to that. And that net in the middle, it's called a safety net, I googled that, brandseil på norsk. imagine that that is actually the team entity. So if someone just drops it and walk away, it's going to impact the team entity. If someone's just like rather on the phone or doing other stuff, it's going to impact the safety of the team entity. So what I work with a lot is actually help individuals accept that we belong to a system and we have a team entity, and we also need to listen to that voice to hear more about that team entity. And then we use relationship systems intelligence. And all those strings you have, you're going to learn more about relationship systems intelligence for that. So just very quickly, this is not something I drew on a serviette this morning, but it's the roadmap for courageous change. First, we look at where we are, and you'll be doing that very shortly. How do you feel about change? What are the signals going on in your life? And then you're going to work together in teams. You're going to find that something has changed is really fun, and others are just going like, oh, right? We are going to look at, we're going to develop your safety rope. We are looking at the obstacles, creating visions and success factors. Okay, you ready? Yay! Let's go. So on your own now, reflect. What are the signals that change is imminent in your working life right now? It can be, like we said, internal signals, or it could be like you're getting all these inquiries going on, it's so much fun, or it could be that you're not getting any inquiries at all, you have to change something. What are the signals that change is imminent in your working life right now? I'm going to give you the questions, and then you can reflect. What is the high dream? Because, you know, life is really about our dreams, our hopes and our fears. So what is our high dream? What is your best possible future outcome for the change that you're facing? Like, yeah. And what's the low dream? What's the worst case scenario? It's like plummet. And which dream are you closest to? So just take a few minutes. I want to stress also that I really want to introduce you to a lot of tools today, so it's really just like a smörgåsbord. You're just going to get tasters. So please work with me on making it happen. Okay, a few minutes, reflection on your own. And then when you feel ready, share with the person next to you. Thank you. mye tid på dem. Nei, jeg kunne ikke droppe dem. Okay, so I'm going to stop you. Just when it was getting good, I'm stopping you, right? So just quickly, what was it? And I, really continue this conversation over lunch. That would be great. But just quickly, what was it like to, just at the front here, what was it like to do it? Too short, of course it was too short, yeah. We should have been here for 3 days, right? Yeah. What else? What was it like to do this? Yeah? Nice, defined? Yeah, yeah. Good, good, thank you. Okay, so really, but just, I've asked you to do this exercise just to think about, noticing the signals, because like I said, often I have some signals going on for myself right now, and I can't see them, and it's like bang, bang. So just like increasing our awareness to read signals, and really checking, like, what's the best possible thing, and really also check in, what are we afraid of? And it's both normal, and owing that. So the next thing we're going to do is an exercise, and now we're really embarking on this cheerful chaos. We're going to start here with yourself and the person next to you. You can call him or her your buddy for this time being. Then you are gracefully, when I instruct you, going to move down to the part of the room, and I say, just make it work. And if you're missing a string, I suggest you actually just take this off and use that instead. Take off your, this. It's an extra, great. Anyone needs a string? Yeah. This bit, can you help with, there's some extra strings then. Okay, so are you ready? If you're missing strings, you can also use this.
I only have one. Anne? They can share them in two.
They can share them, make it work. We have 100 strings. Coming, 1 string per person. String exercise. Each person takes a piece of string. I feel like a magician. Shit, what happened? Okay. Think of a topic you're undecided on. And play with the string. It's like building on with the last speaker. Chocolate cake, not chocolate cake. Smoke, don't smoke. Leave him, stay with him. Leave the job, stay with the job. So just, find a topic that you're undecided on, and just notice those different voices in your mind. Like, I want that to happen. Nah, I don't want that. It's like, yeah? Just feel that. Play with that. Just really take that in. Now what's going on as you're doing that each hand is like a different opinion that's actually going on in your mind. And the relationship, the string is the relationship between different parts of you. So every one of us is a system in ourselves. And this is actually an analogy of emotional intelligence, what's going on in ourselves. Now the tricky piece stops. Find another person. In silence, silencio. Connect your strings together without talking. How do you want to connect your strings without talking? And have a brief conversation using the strings without talking. So find a person, use your strings to connect, and have that conversation. It might get nutted, it might be flowing. Let's just really have that conversation. And if you can't find someone, please stand up and go and find someone. Notice that. Now that's an expression of social intelligence, being in that relationship with others. Now it gets even more tricky. You are, in silence, going to find 2 other pairs so that you end up in groups of 6. And you may just gently and elegantly find your way down to the back of the room where there are seatings with groups of 6. In silence. And just notice the dynamic as you're trying to work your way down there. Some may know where we're going, others don't. Notice what it invokes in you. And if there's not enough groups, just please stand on the floor at the back. Notice what role you're taking. Notice where your focus is. Notice how you're overcoming challenges together, or not. So keep holding the strings, regardless whether you're just where you are right now. Please stop. Just stop where you are right now. Hold on to the strings and imagine that you, the 6 of you, are a team that needs to create a web of strings to catch things. It's like this thing you created is what's going to make goals happen, it's what's going to make projects happen, it's what's going to make change happen. So notice the dynamic in your team as you silently create your web. Okay, you can open your mouths now. And you can, yay! And here's 2 questions for you. Here's 2 questions for you. Discuss your experience, what you noticed was going on, and find a metaphor for it. Like, it was like a traffic junction, or it was like a spider, or it was like whatever it was like. And maybe even find a name for your team, okay? It looks like all the groups are full, doesn't it? Yeah. So there's more people who registered than, yeah. Yeah, yeah. We can ask them. Okay, great. We can ask those to just move and fill there. Yeah. That they're here. They're there. Yeah. 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 That's great. So are most of you able to sit down now? Have you found a circle? Okay, so if you could all sit down, please. I know this is fascinating, isn't it? So, oh God, hang on to the strings while you sit down. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention? And I think you all have. Hang on to the strings. Hang on to the strings. Okay. So what you've just experienced is relationship systems intelligence. You just had an experience of relationship systems intelligence. And that string web of yours, that's your team entity. You notice it had a life of its own? So, Lisbeth, should we check out, like, what are some metaphors? What are some metaphors that you had for your teams? Just hear from a couple of you. Who wants to share? A metaphor for the team. Over there in the middle.
Hello, hello.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're a rolling star.
Shh.
Rolling star?
Roaming star?
Yeah, it looks like a bike wheel and a star, so it's a rolling star.
Rolling star,
Yeah.
Yay. And other metaphors? Who wants to share?
Solid ground.
Solid ground. And we have another one over there, over there, another hand.
Ours is Charlotte's Web.
Charlotte's Web. Okay, great. So just notice the experience you've just had. It was probably for most of you it's easy to find the metaphor for it. And you probably in this moment, I know it's fascinating, but we need to move on. In this moment, you actually had an experience already of the strengths and the challenges in your team. And did you notice the difference when you stopped sort of trying to have it your way and sort of flowed with the team instead? And you all got to your seats. Amazing, yeah. So just to recap, emotional intelligence, the relationship with self, moi, le most important, yeah. Social intelligence, the relationship with other. And relationship systems intelligence, the ability to see oneself and others as an expression of the system. And what you needed to do in this exercise was actually pay attention to all the expressions of the system. You may have had the feeling, God, can't we leave him behind and get there? But no, they're all expressions of your system saying something about its status quo. Okay, so you can put your strings away for now. But and please stay seated where you are. So just remember that the strings were a manifestation. You can take it home with you. We're going to go back to change. We're going to go back to change, and we're going to go back to the edge. So if I can have your attention, you will get to talk more in your teams, I promise. I'm just curious about, when I put on that picture, what happens with you? It takes a Norwegian to put on a Norwegian mountain. I know, it's like, we're addicted to this. But for a lot of people, that's like, oh my God, scary. How are you going to climb that thing? Oh my God. And what's on the back, on the other side of it? Is it more like it? Some of you might say, oh, how much fun. Shall I go the right ridge or the left ridge? Yeah, I can use my new equipment, my new courses. So just know that that is what change looks like for people. It really, what's the word? It produces very different reactions in very different people. And that's what it can look like. So in your teams now for 8 minutes, and Lisbeth's going to help me hold time, imagine that you are the management team that will lead the organization through change across that mountain. Some of you are going to love it. Others are just going to go, can we walk around it? Can I leave the organization? Can I, whatever? What are the strengths and challenges of this particular management team that you're part of now? And what role do you need to play as a management team to successfully navigate across that mountain? The last point I wrote is remember the how. So I'm just going to recap on systems to inspire leadership. Shifting focus from individuals. This is not about making everyone on your team happy. Okay? This is about trusting what's there and what's needed. Listening to that string, that team entity, and that everyone is an information carrier. We may not agree, but how can we align for the sake of being a management team that can manage change? Listen for the collective intelligence. Okay? So 8 minutes. Check out your management team. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to clarify, in case this was unclear, just really imagine that you are a management team. You're setting out to navigate and lead the organization to change. You already had an experience of your team entity. You've already traveled, removing the strings together over there. And now the 6 of you, or 4 of you in your groups, you're actually the management team that are going to lead the change. So use yourself in terms of having experienced the others in the team and the team entity and your relationship to change. What are you worried about? What are you excited about? And what are you worried about? What have you learned about this team already? Okay? So let's just hold it really light, please. Thank you. Please continue. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm noticing is that, I'm noticing there's a lot of figuring out with your heads. I know that there's a lot of back to focus on individuals. I would suggest you actually get the strings connected again. It's not about you, it's about the system. It's not about being the most intelligent one on the group or having the best ideas. Holding your strings together now, just speak your fears, speak your hopes. I'm going to take you through this exercise step by step. Connect with your strings. What are your hopes and fears about being a management team leading change? Okay, next question, ladies and gentlemen. Next question. I told you this was a taster. So work with me, it's a taster. We would obviously spend more time with a real team, right? You got that. So you already had an experience. If I can have your attention, please. I knew this would be cheerful, chaos, and fun. So as you got your strings together and started to move earlier on, you already had an experience of the strengths and challenges of your management team. You already felt who was strongest and all that. And you can also have felt some of the qualities of working together in the team. So just notice, and you just speak into the center, these are some of the qualities of this team. Hold it lightly. Please, go ahead. Be together when it's difficult. How are you going to be together when it's difficult?
Yes, we decided to support each other.
Yeah.
We've created a vision, and we've decided on a pact. We're not going to leave anyone behind.
Good.
And we've questioned our team, how we are going to deal with diversity, and what else? We also questioned if we're two-dimensional after seeing that star structure next to us. We decide we're very creative and we have a great network going.
Great. Congratulations. So, yeah, there's another one.
Hi, my name is Yngve, and I'm just fired, so I'm looking for another mountain. Just telling a story. While climbing, I'm from Norway, so I know that mountain. When I was climbing, I was getting tired, and I lost grip of the net. And we had a good discussion about two of the others grabbed my part of the net, and we had a discussion about how to cope with that. So I think that made our agenda on how to be together when it's getting a little bit difficult quite visible.
Thank you. Also walking around noticing, it's like, I notice now you're really looking at you're talking to each other, but you're still focusing on your team entity. And it really drives the conversation in a totally different way, different direction. So let me just recap. Because remember in the beginning when you moved over and there was some confusion about what's going on? That's something what we call about edge behavior. Was there someone who wanted to say something? Yeah.
I wanted to say, because I think we have something that might come a little bit to where you're heading to.
Yeah.
We talked about the flourishing. So we decided we're going to be an open team, and remember that the net continues beyond our team.
Yeah, yeah. Great, thank you. So remember when the signals come, and I was noticing there was lots of commotion, and then there was some confusion. What are we actually doing? Are we a management team? Are we not? I just have to say that happens in real life too. People are like, am I part of this team? We are seeing what we call edge behavior. It's nothing good or bad about edge behavior, but it happens at the edge. Just as you're about to go through a change, you'll get different reactions. And it can be, again, internal reactions, like internal signals, or it can be from outside. It could be that someone in a meeting, like someone down there, he was tired and he just let go, right? So you can really, edge behavior can happen in a meeting, that people just like pull back and get their phone out or something. They may leave the room. They may leave the building. They may leave the team. They may leave the organization. Lots of that happening is a systemic edge behavior. Or they may just go on sick leave, which is also edge behavior. So whenever we see these different behaviors, verbal or non-verbal, know that it signals about a change that's going to happen, and people are reacting or responding differently. So for you as trainers as well, when you're going to introduce an exercise and everyone has to go to the bathroom, you know that one? Edge behavior. And so with edge behavior in organizations, my idea for you is to remain curious about the meaning of that signal and the positive intention. And I had one team that I worked with, and there were a couple of old-timers who'd been there for many years, and they were so resistant to the change. Really, really resistant. And rather than making them a problem or firing them, which seems to be a trend over here, I asked, I was exploring what was the positive intention of that resistance. The people in question, especially one lady, she says, I'm so afraid that we're going to lose our values. I'm afraid that the change is going to, or the transformation is going to take away the core values that makes this organization. We were then able to work with her about how those values could be carried with and maybe also adapted. And she turned out to be the biggest innovator and champion of the change. So whenever you see resistance in any way, be curious. It's back to the questions that Caitlin had yesterday, for those of you who were here, like really open questions, clean language. All fits together, you know, yeah? Also be curious about, instead of people arguing like this, things like what's trying to happen in our system. You know that each one of you is an information carrier of the system. So what is that person who's disagreeing or agreeing or whatever, what are they trying to tell you about what's going on in the system? So the last thing, ladies and gentlemen, that I would like to invite you to today is, I'm just going to touch on one thing because we won't have time to do it. We say that in order to cross the edge, remember my little map? We needed a vision. So this is the point where you actually pull out those high dreams. You don't need to go away for 2 weeks on an offsite to find a vision. Sorry if that's a business killer for some of you. But, but also have a vision for the change. It's not just about the organization, but actually have a vision for the change. And pull out those high dreams that you had at the beginning, pull them out of your pocket and says, these are our vision seeds. And having worked with this, like I said, with hundreds of leaders of teams, they're so aligned. They want so many of the same things. So it's workable. Use them as dream, like we want to make a change that, blah, blah, blah. And also to drive that vision, to drive that change, what are the success factors that are going to actually enable us? And I think one of the teams already touched upon it. So the final thing I'd like to introduce you to today, I also want to say that in my presentation that will be available to you is all the research that goes behind all of this. And the ground conditions for successful change by Margaret Wheatley. I'm not going to read through them. I would rather give you a last taster of interactive coaching. So I've been cheating, as we say. So the vision I created is harnessing the people potential in change. And we have 8 success factors. Involve, respect the ideas of others, acknowledge, be open to influence, shift focus from individuals to team, be willing to align rather than just having to agree, trust the system, and celebrate. Yay. So back to you now, back to you individually. At the end of where lovely Laurie is standing there is a meta skills wheel. It's got 8 success factors. Don't move yet, please. Let me just do the instructions and then you can go. It's got 8 success factors, like 8 pies. One with a success factor in each. Change is in the middle. And remember that when we started out here, you know, that you were going to think about a change in your working life? The signals coming your way that a change in your working life was imminent. So bring out that change again. Think about it. And then we're going to look at the meta skills wheel. The first piece, I'm just going to give you the first piece of instruction, is to walk through the wheel, and this will be cheerful chaos again. Walk through the wheel and look at which one of these success factors are you best at when it comes to change. Are you really good at celebrating? Are you good at trusting the system? What are you good at? Okay? So please get up, move over to the meta skills wheel, and find a success factor that you're good at. You can do with the strings what you want. This is the individual piece. Up really quickly, and then you are going to get your CCUs. Okay, please come and join us. Just a few more minutes, and then you're going to have lunch, and you can discuss this for an hour. Okay, please come and sit down, and I will just land the final comments. First of all, the exercise you just did is called a meta skills wheel. It's called a meta skills wheel. And you can use it in many different ways. You can have the values of the organization. You can even use that team contract, that security rope, and put it in there and look at, what am I good at? What am I really good at? And what are my challenges? And it can be a little bit of a mind bender to think, what am I good at? And how can that help me address the challenge? And that's where your good coaching skills come in. And I really want to thank you for playing with this cheerful chaos, and I hope you enjoyed it. So just to sum up the tools that we have been through today, we have looked at the edge, moving from what's known to the unknown. That is basically what change is about. We've been reading signals. Signals are all around us, inside us, outside us, and the larger system. We have been working with high dreams and low dreams, fears, hopes, and expectations. And change processes are really about whether these are fulfilled or not. We have talked about resistance and talked about the team contract, which is what's going to ensure a high performance as we cross that mountain. We have looked at vision for change, and for the success factors that will help drive the change. It doesn't have to be 8, it can be 4, but those are the things that would actually help you get there. And then you discussed a little bit about action and how you can take it further. So I just want to finish off by thanking you for creatively, chaosly collaborating. Bit of an experiment. I was told it's going to be 60, not 100 people, so that makes a difference. I also want to tell you about that team, you know, those 12 that I started talking about at the beginning. I just spoke to them last week. This process obviously is not done in an hour and a half. It can take up to several months. It can take up to several years. So I worked with this team for a year and a half, and I just spoke with them a few weeks ago to see what were the results. And they said that this process put them into a mindset, a frame of handling change that they wouldn't have had otherwise. It prepared them for change, and it prepared them for being a working team system. And those 12 people are now pioneering the change in Norwegian police education. So I wish them the best of luck. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and for playing full out.
Well, I have 2 things to say, and I would like you to stay for both, please. And the first and most important is thank you for your contribution. Really food for thought and really inspiring. So we would like to give you this gift. It's locally produced licorice and some poker pigs.
Thank
really,
you.
Really nice.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. The most of our speakers at the conference is giving us a lot of things here, and without making any costs for the conference. So we would like to ask you to just take the email of Anne and give her some nice feedback. Maybe you could go to LinkedIn and recommend her and contribute to what you are doing. That would be great. Thank you so much for that. And before you leave, please have your passports ready for the CCU points. There will be volunteers who will stamp. If you look around, the volunteers will stand up and they will stamp your passports as you leave. So, now it's time for lunch. Have a great day.